Okay, here's where you get to feel a little bit like a programmer using Microsoft Access. What we're going to do now to take data integrity to the next level is create rules for what data can go into a field. So as data input people start entering information into the various fields, we want to force them to input only certain data. For example, in our rating column here, we have a rating system from 1 to 5. We don't want people putting in zeros or sixes, for example. That's not acceptable. So we can set up a rule that says it has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, nothing else. Look at some of these other columns as well. The condition, well, we've only got poor, good, and excellent, so we want those 3 choices, and we want people to enter it that way and spell it correctly too. Same thing goes for the location and the media, so we can set up rules for each of these, and we're going to have fun with another input mask as well. So we do all of this from the design view like we did for our input masks and our field properties. Notice up here that I'm now using Music Library 4C. If you've been following along, no problem. But if you're jumping to this lesson, this is the one you'll want to open up to be all caught up. Music Library 4C from the Lesson 4 folder of your exercise files. Once you've got it open, let's switch to Design View. We'll click the Design View button here. And we'll go back to our rating field, and we'll start with that one here. So clicking in the rating field, you can see we've already set up some things, including an input mask that says it's got to be 1 digit. But we haven't said yet what those digits can be. We want 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. That's a rule. So we come down here to the validation rule part. And notice that we've got a little button over here for building our validation rules. So we can click that to open up the expression builder. Now we can use some of the built-in functions by double-clicking functions and clicking built-in functions. You can see we've got some pre-built choices for us. Or we can just come in here and type in what the rule is. So in this case, it has to be 1, or, I'm going to click the or button, 2. I'm going to click or again, 3, or 4, or 5. That's our rule right there. We just click OK. That gets entered into the validation rule field. And now, this is kind of neat, we can add some text that'll show up when people enter something other than 1 through 5, such as, you must enter a number from 1 to 5, just like that. So there's our validation rule. We've set it up. We've added some validation text as well. So if people don't enter the right data, we're at least giving them some information about what they should be entering. So we're going to save that change. We'll click the Save button. Data integrity rules have changed. We know that. We just set them. And notice that it's just saying it might take a long time. If you've got hundreds and hundreds of records, for example, and you've already got data in the rating field, it could take a while to check to make sure that data rules are being followed. So we're going to click Yes. We're going to switch to our datasheet view, and I'm going to click in here and just tab over to a new record. Now I'm going to enter in an album title. I'm going to enter in Bad by Michael Jackson. The rating I'm going to change to a 5. Now what if I try to put in a 6 here? Let's type in 6. As soon as I hit tab to move to the next field, there's that text. You must enter a number from 1 to 5. So I click OK. I better put in 5. And now as I tab through, I can start entering the rest of the information. But we can create some validation rules for these other fields as well, so that people can only put in one of 3 choices, poor, good, or excellent for the condition. They can choose from rack 1 through 4. And then same thing for the media type. So what we're going to do now is go back to Design View, and we're going to work on those other ones. Let's start with the condition. So the condition can be one of 3 choices. That's a validation rule. When we work with text, we put it in quotes. So for example, you can put in a quote here, double quotes, and I'm going to put in poor. Now I can type this, or I can go to the expression builder and do it there if I wanted to. So good in double quotes, or, and in double quotes, the last choice, which is excellent. Now if I wanted to, for validation text, must be poor, good, or excellent. There we go. Now when I hit save, watch what happens here. Same information pops up saying it could take a while. I say yes. Existing data violates the new setting. That's because I've got some blanks in there, don't I? But that's okay. I'm going to click yes to continue on. And I'm going to switch to my datasheet view here. And we're going to continue with our new record here. And I'm going to type in something like OK. Look at that. Must be poor, good, or excellent. So I click OK. I'll take that out, and I'm going to type in good. Tab over, and now I'm ready to move on to the rack. Well, let's change that up as well. Let's make some rules for what can go into the location field. We'll go to our design button to switch to design view. We'll click on the location field, and we're going to use an input mask here as well, because what we really want to do is have some text in there, rack, so all you need to enter is the 1, the 2, the 3, or the 4. So it's going to look kind of like this. I'm going to put rack and a space in quotes, and then we want a number after that. So we're going to put in a 0 to represent an optional number, and then we'll put in our semicolon. This is all covered in the previous lesson. We do want to save all of the mask data, like the word rack, with the data, so we're going to put in a 0 here. The choices are 0 or 1. And then we're going to put in a semicolon, and if we want a placeholder, we can put it in here. I'm going to put in the underscore. There we go. Validation rules now. Obviously, this time we've got 4 choices. So what we want to do, I'm going to go into the expression builder here, and I'm going to type in quotes, double quotes, rack 1 and or, and I'm going to copy this here so I don't have to type it each time. Control C on the keyboard, Control V, or Control V. There we go. And I'm just going to change the numbers now to 2, 3, and 4. When I click OK, that's entered for me. Now I'm going to hit my save button. I'm going to see a familiar message. I'm going to say yes. Existing data violates that. We know we've got a blank in there, but that's okay. When we click yes and switch to the datasheet view, we can come in here. Look at that, the word rack is already there. So we would move from good by hitting tab. We just type in a number here. I'm going to type in 4, and you can see rack 4 shows up for me. I hit tab, and we're on to the media. So here's where we can set up yet another rule. So let's get some practice. We'll go to the design view now, switch over to media, and create a validation rule here. So this is text again. Let's just type it in here this time. So we'll use our double quotes. The media can be CD, or it can be tape, or, and in double quotes, we'll put in the other option, which is vinyl. There we go. If we want in the validation text, put a message in there. Must be CD, tape, or vinyl. There we go. Let's save that up. We're going to see the same messages again. Obviously, we've got a blank in there. That's why we see this violation. It's okay. We'll click yes. Go back to the data sheet. And from rack 4, we'll hit tab. And let's try and type something in like cassette. When I hit tab to move on, it says, oh, must be CD, tape, or vinyl. So I click OK. I'm going to double click here and just type in tape. When I hit tab, that one's accepted, and I've saved my changes. So you can see how now where we're preserving the integrity of our data by forcing people not only to put in the data that we want, but to make it look the way we want as well.